It's one thing to be introduced as the head coach at Alabama. It's quite another to be able to put together the kind of staff he's already assembled. He was able to bring Ryan Grubb with him, offensive coordinator at Washington, to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama. Tremendous get, right, to retain that guy. And then he shocked me with going to get not one, but two sitting FBS coaches to go join his staff. One being Kane Womback, who was the head coach at South Alabama. The Jaguars won 10 games last year. They showed up to Oklahoma State and had them putting money in the bag this year. He was also defensive coordinator at Indiana when Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator in Indiana. So that one felt pretty on brand. A guy that's in the state, has relationships with the high schools, has relationships all around the South, whose father spent 40 years coaching in the SEC footprint. And then you go get a guy like Mo Linguist, a head coach at Buffalo and an outstanding secondary coach who left that job to be your co-defensive coordinator and your secondary coach at Alabama. That is a tremendous get. It also means that his first job isn't to necessarily take a look around the DB room. It is to make sure that Caleb Downs is in it. Because I rate Caleb Downs as the best defensive back in all of football. That dude last year as a true freshman did everything Nick Saban asked him to do. They had him matching up on the best wideout and Brock Bowers, okay? Seeing what he was capable of doing and knowing what that nickel and safety spot have been in the Nick Saban era, I don't know that there's a better player that we're going to see. He's up there with Kyle Hamilton in as far as his ability, right? I expect him to join the ranks of one Brian Branch or Malachi Moore. Excuse me. But I also think that if Mo Linguist expects to keep him, he's going to have to outwork Travaris Robertson. And I just don't see that as happening because Travaris left Alabama to go to Georgia. Actually, Kalen DeBoer tried to hire him to be the defensive coordinator, decided to stay at Georgia. Now, what's more important, your relationship with your position coach or your relationship with the university? And I got to believe that Nick Saban is going to try to help recruit Caleb Downs to stay at Alabama. And that might make a difference because Nick is going to be around the Alabama program. It's not just because Kalen DeBoer said, hey, look, wherever Nick Saban wants to go, he can go. As a matter of fact, I want him to bring me something, one thing every time I see him that we can improve on, that we can do better. And I'm sure Nick is going to have a list because it is not a man who decided to take a step back from coaching because he can't coach anymore. Okay. He took a step back from coaching because he didn't know how much longer he could give his entire being to being the head coach of Alabama. Now, that said, he can give 9/10 and he probably will. Okay, so if you need him to go close down some people, I think he's going to try to help you. He could be your best friend, I think. And I think helping keep Caleb Downs there would be a tremendous boon for Alabama in 2024. And then we'll get to see just what else he adds to the program, because one of the things I love about Kalen DeBoer is he knows how to do more with less. He also understands the value of continuity. So it's not just that he's bringing in guys that know what it looks like to run programs and are going to be able to run their position groups with that knowledge in the back of their heads. It's that he is also the kind of guy that does not let guys go without trying to get them either a better job, right, or raises. Like, it's really cool, right? It's kind of the opposite of what Jedd Fisch has done. Now, Jedd Fisch also went from New Jersey down to Florida to learn how to be Steve Spurrier. That ain't how Kalen DeBoer came up, right? That dude came up not unlike Coach Saban did, right? He was having to do it the hard way. Matter of fact, I think Kalen DeBoer is still the dude that can teach you how to take a snap from center. And I don't know a whole lot of coaches I'll be talking on the phone that can still do that, right? Like where you put your hands, how you put them on the laces, where your hand is supposed to go underneath the center. These fundamentals are so important to the head coach because he understands what it means for you to know those fundamentals, for you to teach them. Nick Saban's out there teaching footwork, right? Matter of fact, Kevin Steele, one of his last press conferences ever, I'll never forget this. He was asked as they were getting ready to play the Rose Bowl, you calling plays as a defense coordinator. And he said, how many defense coordinators do you think Alabama has? And dude was like, one. Okay. Who do you think it is? And he said, you're wrong. The defense coordinator at Alabama is a guy who's won 7 national championships because that's what it's been, right? I'm interested to see how Kalen's image goes over at Alabama, and especially how rambunctious the SEC is, how they're going to get around that dude from the Dakotas, that dude who spent some time out Fresno, that dude that spent some time out Seattle. Because I don't know that this man has ever been to a Buc-ee's. I don't know that he knows Croakley's. I don't know that he understands what Waffle House and Chick-fil-A mean down here. But I can guarantee you he's going to find out. All right? I'm excited about what Alabama football can be in 2024. And again, what is going to be a pivotal year for everybody. I think one of the things that you can take into account is keeping Jalen Milroe is huge, but will Jalen Milroe be their guy? But they need some help at wide receiver, and they need some help at tight end, right? Nari Niblack, he's gone, right? Isaiah Bond transferred to Texas. Roydell Williams, running back, transferred to Florida State. They're going to have to rebuild on that side of the ball, but that's easier to do than on the defensive side of the ball, which is where they're going to lose a ton and where they're going to get most exposed, all right? So Kane Womack's going to have to do a job. Mo Linguist is going to have to do a job. Keeping Freddie Roach is going to help with that. But then we're going to have to see, because there's nothing easy about being the head coach at Alabama, and there's nothing easy about winning games at Alabama. One more note that I just want to glance at here is keeping running back coach Robert Gillespie. I'm going to throw one out to Robert Gillespie right quick. In 1997, I was 10, and I would go to Hattiesburg High games when I was in Hattiesburg to see my grandmommy. Hattiesburg High, my mama's alma mater, was across the street from Dixie Youth Baseball. And I would show up there to watch the football team play. And everybody would tell me about this dude, Robert Gillespie, who ended up going for 2,600 yards and was all-state, went to Florida, played in the NFL, came from North Carolina all the way back to Alabama, understands the South, understands winning, has created some really great tailbacks here of late. I think that's huge. That's amazing. Also, I get to say shout out to a Hattiesburg High alumnus, right? I bet that's going to get written up in the Hattiesburg American.
If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.